Hi there, welcome to Wyckoff Technical Analysis session for Litecoin. So if you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key takeaways you can expect from this session. Let's start with the weekly chart of Litecoin. Here we are seeing a leg downwards currently with 2 days and 6 hours left, and that's basically another LPSY. Alright, meaning the last point of supply. If I change it to a line chart, you see clearly those 2 peaks. And this box currently is adding a shade, so it's quite dark for you. Now it should work. So let me change to the candlestick chart. Essentially, the expectation of getting towards another accumulation cycle remains of a higher chance, while coming back for a second test, touching or even going above the green key level of 116, similar to what happened in early mid-September, remains at a lower possibility. As long as this downtrend continues, that's those perspective remains. Okay, that's the big picture. Now let's get to the daily and see some potential breakout time points as well as where we are. Previously, when we go through this chart, I was asking a question. If this was an accumulation, okay, then this would probably be a buying climax. If you look across the left, it's not too far from the buying climax back in late July that ended around the green key level. Okay, that's the tricky part in analyzing or plugging in Wyckoff method in the daily chart, because it wasn't supposed to be, designed for this. Now, if these are true, what we have gone through in the past few days since November 10th, the leg downwards, was an automatic reaction from the climax. And today is taking a pause, potentially a rebound, maybe a second test, coming back to challenge this blue line or blue slope going upwards. Alright, that's the bottom edge of the previous uptrend that started somewhere in early April and ended by the October 10th event. Alright, half a year of run towards the north. Now we are getting towards here. Basically the period between mid-August all the way to October was a horizontal trading. It wasn't it just haven't broken below the upward channel. Not that it hasn't weakened. Okay, so the downtrend officially started, back in mid-August, if I have to say. If you look at what happened over here, only those few days in October that bumped up, towards the ceiling of the channel, which again we tested it just less than a week ago. Alright, so this is not what I want to put. This is the second test that we were talking about. So yesterday, or 2 days in a row, including today, the price is trying to stay closing above this white dashed line. Previously, when I draw this line, that leg downwards on November 3rd hasn't happened yet. That's why I was asking, okay, if there really is this, higher lows support line, this should continue. Currently, because this has happened, I don't think this is going to provide much support, even though we seem to see that it seems like it's, the price actions are acting based on that line. But I'm going to remove that anyway, because there are multiple candles, during the sign of strength period also ended up around this level. So it's probably not about that particular line, but this level, this intermediate level over here, for the short-term references that we have. two separate lines that are providing just short-term support for the moment. Let me enlarge this so if you're watching on mobile, it's easier. Put this back. Okay, you see this level coming from these reference candles, right? And also currently over here, there are a couple of others. Two long ones over here, some shorter ones, and this, provided the references for today and yesterday's candlesticks. All right, but these are just intermediate levels. I'm just drawing to show you, not that they are, going to support that for very long. And it may bounce up for a second test. We already talked about. If it doesn't, if it ends here and ends up being just an LPSY, not a second test to the high level, maybe it ends up just bouncing towards the yellow key level of $100. Okay, if it's doing it like this and then comes down for another deeper accumulation below the orange key level of $79, which already touched on in the weekly chart, that it seems like it's really heading downwards towards the orange or even the red. If that happens in the daily, that's where the other deeper level accumulation is going to happen. Last time, it went below the orange was here back in April this year. Okay, there was an accumulation over here, a very quick distribution, re-enter another accumulation in just the course of 2 months. 3 cycles has happened, about 2 to 3 months time. And the really low accumulation was back in summer, started July 2024, finishing in November 2024. That's the accumulation between the red key level of $62 to $79. And if current sentiments doesn't change, if the crypto market continues to deteriorate, when the price of Litecoin continues along this trend, doesn't break out, we'll eventually get to that point. Okay, in terms of potential breakout timing, if the price climbs back to above the 100 level and trades towards this triangle, that's pointing towards mid-December. If it's the 79 orange key level, that's pointing towards beginning of February. Right, it's still pretty far from where we are today. The quickest one will be the yellow key level. If the price ever climbs above that 100 line and trade towards the right hand side, in about a month's time, that's where is the trend decision is going to come up. Okay, it either continues with the downtrend confirming it, or it breaks outside of this trend and trade maybe sideways, developing a new trend, depending on what's the narrative across the market back then. Because in a month's time, a lot of things can happen. And in the big picture perspective, if it trades sideways and started a new trend, it's still possible, because we have only seen a buying climax just this half a year. It can go for an upthrust or upthrust after distribution as well. Alright, so that's why I'm keeping a 30% chance for it to come back, but the higher possibility is for this to continue with the downtrend. Okay, so we have touched on all 3 key discussion items. So thanks for joining me today. See you in future sessions.